haven't heard from Mike. Have no idea where Mike's at. So we got 4. Let's go ahead and get going here. All right, so I call the work session to order, February 15th, 2023 at 6:05 PM. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, items for discussion. Oh, okay, all right, yeah. Before we get started, Nicole, will you come forward? I'd like to introduce Nicole. She's our latest new hire. He was hired for the Parks and Rec position, but there's other things in addition to that that we got her on social media, a couple other things. But anyway, go ahead, Nicole. You can introduce yourself and give a little bio. Just
working with marketing, mostly within the long-term care sector. I've worked with everything from but really reaching those individuals and staying in touch with their families and community, really connecting and bringing everybody together was the core of my job and what I do. Very much looking forward to bringing within.
okay. All right.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I just want to, especially for our audience, remind everybody that when we decided to go back out for a full-time position in place, Matt, who was our previous recreation coordinator, we wanted to make sure that we also filled the position or filled the role that was missing, which was someone to take the lead on communicating with our residents, whether that in recreation oftentimes is that position that has a constant contact with our residents via the programming, sports, whether it's younger or old, everybody in between. So it was a natural fit. We didn't feel that it warranted 2 full-time positions. And it's hard to find someone who's going to find 2 part-time positions with the requisite skill set. But we were very lucky. We had a couple good candidates. Cole, I think, filled both of those slots very well. As we talk about, I'm sure we'll see tonight, people coming up here and talking about wanting to be engaged and communicated with about what's going on in the city. More and more, we know that that's something that people are expecting and demanding from the city. Cole is going to be working very closely with us on that regard to help us not just get the word out about things, but truly engage our residents, whether it's on recreation activities, fun things, but also on those important things that we do with the city, whether it's letting people know about getting their cars off the street for snow plows or street work that's going to be impending, major road work, major activities, or in this case, major proposals that might come before the city that might be of interest to residents. So we're really excited because I think this is something that is probably long overdue and Cole is very well equipped to do and has a lot of experience. And so I think this will be a great benefit to the city forward.
Okay. Right. Our next order of business is items for discussion and consideration, but want to go into a closed session. Want to do that first, or do you want to go ahead and?
I would say let's wait. Hopefully Jay
is not going to.
He's not pushing up.
He called and told me his wife is not going. Mike, I have heard nothing.
Usually he texts me when
Yeah.
he's running late. Well, I think this could be a fairly quick discussion. So, Mr. Mayor, well, we can move on to that discussion topic. I just wanted to get some input from the board. And Justin, I know you've muted, but are you muted yourself or do I have to unmute you?
I muted myself.
Trying to talk.
We can hear.
I can hear them over here,
You can hear him over there?
barely. Barely, can you hear me
Is there
now?
another volume that needs to be?
Cold detect. Oh, I know what it is. So I'll go ahead and, I know he can hear me, so the conversation this evening is going to be about the steering committee for the visioning process. What we've talked about, and for those who may not be aware of what the Planning and Zoning Commission has endorsed, so to speak, us engaging in this vision process for Town Square Avenue. They also suggested, and I think we've all talked about, including technology into that corridor, more or less a triangle between technology, Town Square and Post. To engage upon a visioning process which would allow us to Justin, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I've been able to hear you. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Justin, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
You always have to check. The hope is tonight to get some board members about, they would part of this, ultimately, want as many people to participate in this vision process as possible, but as far as steering work of the having, and I think we discussed last time, probably no more than 12 to 15, maybe 20 at the very most, but maybe 15 people who would be the committee that puts together this process along with a professional to engage other stakeholders around the area to eventually create, document, and a vision that would articulate the city's ultimate wish for the corridor we just talked about. So Mayor and I spoke, he had some people in mind. One of the things that we talked about was having each alderman give a couple names from their ward that we could also then have the mayor pick from, probably no more than maybe 2 per ward, come be part of this body that would also be business owners, that would also be property owners, maybe along that corridor, developers, et cetera. But really, we'd like to get the purposes of this discussion, just some input from the board as to who you think is important to have steering this, not participating. But of course, if you just have people that you want to participate, we can make sure that that's added to the list. Really steering this effort. I think it's probably important to have members of the board participate. I don't think we want it to be too board heavy. I don't think you want it to be too planning and zoning heavy, because you want everybody to feel like they're part of this process. This isn't driven by P and Z or driven by board or by the mayor. Where everybody can come together and let this process organically work, as opposed to it being a directed process with a preconceived directed outcome. So in my experience, that, that can happen. Said, well, we'll have 6 board members. Well, then you also run into the problem of things like sunshine law violations. All those meetings. Actually, John, just to make sure, this would probably have to be posted anyway. Ad hoc committee of the city, right?
Correct.
So we would still have to abide by posting requirements. From the staff's perspective, we can handle all that stuff. I would like just an open discussion as to who you think is important to be a part of this as the steering committee, and then ultimately you would like us to focus on reaching out to participate.
Go on a couple of comments and a question. I don't think you want a quorum alderman on this committee. But if you have 2 aldermen on the committee and 2 other aldermen, if I'm not on it, I may want to go sit and listen to what's being presented. Does that present a problem? 2 or 3 aldermen in the room with the other 2 aldermen
No.
that are on the.
Cause it'll be a duly noticed meeting.
The other thing, I think I heard you say developer involved. And I
Could be, I
think,
mean, I'm just, yeah,
I think that's a good idea to have a developer. I don't know what you would be developing. I mean, it could be somebody that's built houses in our city. It could be somebody that's built whatever within our city that could be there. It's input. Do we? Let me make one more and then I'll be finished. Do we need an engineer? I don't want to commit you to another night a week or anything else, but we need.
I serve at the board's pleasure.
So
Okay, so
that's my comments.
when it comes to actual members of this committee or board, okay? There'll be members assigned to it. But my thoughts with developers, I've talked to several, to just come in occasionally to address them about the trends, the different things happening in their world. Okay? Nothing more than just give information. They wouldn't be making decisions or anything. They would just be participate in some of the meetings. I think when it comes to an engineer, I think if something comes up that we need something addressed by an engineer, then we'll call Tom. I don't think it's necessary for him to sit on the board and part of it.
I know that Tom sees things that happen in other cities, building standpoint. Some ideas that come out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, your all's decision. I'd be happy to, when needed, or part of the committee, or be, maybe not part of the committee, but over here as a side. I don't want to take up a committee from the city, a city resident or business owner's spot. Over here. The side is,
So that's my thoughts.
We'll consider it, discuss it. I mean, we can see how things go with the first meeting too. And, if you feel like, you know, the people on the board, feel like that it would make sense to add an engineer or Tom, then we'll.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask?
Yes.
Just a question, I know there's several big lots along that corridor. I'm sure you have, talked to any of those folks that actually own property along the corridor for their.
Yes, we talked to some this morning.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
so Dave, to your point, maybe we want to make sure that we delineate between who we think should be a steering committee member who's actually going to be making voting, so to speak, on the final recommendation versus people, I think like Tom, maybe we should certainly identify as an ex officio member, somebody who certainly should be there in some cases or even many cases for his expertise, adding to discussion. I would caution, just for purposes of the residents' perception, you would want to make sure that it doesn't appear to be driven by the city. So we got too many people that staff or paid by the city, then it starts to look like, well, they weighted this thing so they can get the outcome. But I agree. I think all of these people will have a role. Ultimately, we're talking about the people who are going to sign their name and say, we've collectively, at least by consensus, agree that this is engaged on this process. This is what we've come out of this. Certainly, I think you need to have some representation of the Board of Aldermen and Planning and Zoning. I think if you set a number of 2 per ward, so to speak, that's 6 people there. 2 people from planning and zoning and 2 aldermen, we're already at 10. 5 other people could be business owners in Garden Prairie. They could be maybe retired developers or residents that have special skill sets. For instance, I know some communities, certain board positions might require you to be an engineer or require you to be an architect. You may not be an engineer or architect on a project or anything here or in the employee of the city, but we might want to seek out some residents who are in fact engaged in it. And something like EJ. EJ wasn't a board member. I would say that's a guy who is a developer. He would be a perfect resident / developer. And the fact of the matter is he's getting off the board. Maybe he's a perfect person to be a developer, resident, no longer member of the board. So he still might be perfect.
First of all.
James, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hey. Yeah, I think from my standpoint, what you just described would be kind of what I would think would be an ideal scenario would be, two members from the board, no more than 3, 2 members from P and Z, no more than 3, 2 residents, I even shouldn't even say residents, 2 people with interest in each ward. Could be a business owner, could be a resident. And then I would look within those residents for those skill sets. Do we have residents that are developers, engineers, otherwise? And then to the extent that you feel you need one, add one additional from somewhere to break a tie.
Also think that maybe we ought to put this in. Push it to see if there's interested people. Want to be on this committee? Put it out to the residents?
So ultimately, I agree. I think 2 avenues here. Number one, I think each alderman probably could and should seek, individually seek somebody or seek some candidates that might be interested. But absolutely, I think we would open it up to Nextdoor, Facebook, social media, post it on our website, let people know, and obviously announce the meetings as well. Let people know that this is open process for applying. We can easily put together short applications that, especially if you're trying to identify specific skill sets or occupations or otherwise of individuals in the community that we want to seek out. Like I said, it's an architect, engineer, developer, whatever, business owner, we can put that in the sort of application process and then let the board members and that and try to winnow that number down to whatever it is that we choose. 2 per ward, 1 per ward. Alderman.
Another question is, these meetings would be open to the public to get their input also.
Correct.
Because that's part of the whole thing. What the input from the people? It's because, they're not,
Well, would you ever get through the meeting if you,
you'd have to limit. And or if they have great ideas, we would suggest that they give us a written idea. You know, if they have something that's substantially sound, bring it forth in a written form. But I mean, if they want to get up, and that's under any public meeting, you only have a 3-minute time frame to talk in.
Look, Mark, I think you're absolutely right. I think part of what we will be getting to is And I think once we get this committee together, we'll seek someone, whether it's John B. or someone to help facilitate this.
Right.
We will have a professional facilitator that will be outside of the city because ultimately, somebody's gonna have to have a process that takes all that information in orderly fashion, allows people, and also just doesn't, we don't want it to be only people that show up at meetings.
Right.
Giving their input. We want to make this as easy as possible for people to give their input and solicit as far and wide as possible. And it's not just soliciting input, but it's also providing information. Much as their input is important, it's also important to get their input after they've been given information. If you're given choices, you ask somebody what they want, that's a different answer. You ask somebody a choice between possible solution, possible solution. So,
Yeah, the person running the meeting definitely has to be an outside person. Can't be a board member, a planning and zoning member, whatever, it's gotta be a third party. So it shows that there is no influence.
is there a number that we would like to cap this at? I think that we don't want it to be unwieldy, but I want to make sure that everybody has the ability to participate. Again, everybody should have the ability to actually participate on this.
I'm just afraid if you get a board that talking 10 people, that's a big board. That's why I was stressing that it's open to everyone, bring their ideas, put them forth, everything. Yeah, that's something.
Looking at what O'Fallon just did, they did basically the same thing. Got it pulled up, they had 16 members, yeah, on their committee, advisory committee. And they also had members of the city staff outside of the advisory.
But it, it
Was on, he was on
so-
the committee.
it lasts forever with that many board members or?
It was, it was several months, then we, as they did continue to work on it, it did call down. Question, since we always have, it was a variety of,
I guess that's a good part about having a bigger board. Forum there too.
and we had a schedule, so we knew when we were.
Attend as a resident or as attorney?
I was there as a resident, I was appointed to.
You throw it away around it.
Oh, sure. Part of being on a committee, if you don't know that.
How many meetings you guys have?
To the,
Justin?
Go ahead.
to the extent that matters, I would say 11 seems right to me. No more than 13.
make their record. So, you know, if everybody wants to show up, audience, or even participate in discussions or town halls. But I would always caution, especially the elected officials, to make sure that we don't, that it doesn't appear to drown out the residents. Or even if you're not drowning them out, to feel as if they can't have a because of their mere presence, which. So what I would say is, I think we've got an idea about makeup more or less. Why don't we come up with a cap number, then numbers 11 or 13? I can throw out a couple different scenarios, send them out to everybody on the board. They're thinking about who these people would be. Obviously, we want to make sure able to fill all those spots, and then I'll also put together, or we can put together an application. So we can put that out to people to see how much interest would be out there. Make sure that we have a very detailed description of what the charge of this group is. People don't think this has anything to do with the boat property and FISE and specifically about this corridor, but this group is going to do. Then see who might. And then maybe when we get to that, if we have a tremendous amount of interest, maybe you guys can decide if you want to increase the membership. Don't have a ton of people that are interested. Maybe it's 11 people. You have tons of people who adamantly want to be a part of it, maybe even 15. We'll just maybe go based on what we from all the parties involved. But I'm hearing P and Z, Board of Aldermen, business owners, residents, and people like Tom, maybe John, and myself, staff, ex officio, either to support, but not to practice.
Good.
Yeah, you're working on that tomorrow. We'll get that pushed out to residents, start gauging interest, and then firm this up real quick. Right? We do have a closed session.
Subsection rules.
I would suggest one.
Two. I was just watching. Someone make a motion to go into closed session for 6:10, 021, 12, and 14.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait, get a
Roll
roll call, please.
Justin, you've got to come on screen for the roll call.
There he is.
Alderman Ungerbat,
Aye.
Alderman Wanley,
Aye.
Alderman Riley.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Okay, so we're gonna go in closed session. Never tell how long it's gonna be. It,
Justin, if you want to log off, I can call you from my cell phone.
Sounds good.
gonna go into closed session. When we're finished, we'll come back and resume the work session, and hopefully we can get finished by 7 o'clock and call the regular meeting to order. As we're back from the
Mark?
Yes. We're on Royal Lips. Oh, I didn't say it, I didn't have to now.
That's just how I'm dying.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Right. Okay, yeah. Probably like that's. Okay. I'll make a number by No. I know. I don't know something.
Yes. But then.
I don't have that. Not what I'm supposed to do. That's not good. I did, and I've been told that I'm not doing it. And we finally got it in here. And each time I'm like, but it'd be like, nearly 95 inches. You know what, you missed out. And I didn't realize that. Okay, go. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they're out there. That's true.
Anybody else have a speaker card they want to add?
Yeah. Those two, what's coming there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's reopen the, work session. Uh, all right, like a motion to close the work session? Second. Second, all in favor? Okay, the work session is adjourned. Justin.
Yes.